Hello everybody, welcome to emilykatemadethis. I am Emily Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. I never know which episode, why do I never check? It's an episode and it's been a while and I'm slightly behind on what I want to say. And I know as a good podcaster I should have checked my last few episodes, but I didn't. My husband just went out and it's the first time in ages I've been home alone, and I wanted to take this opportunity to record. So without any preparation, let's get to it. Since we last spoke, my mum visited. That was very exciting, and also the reason why I'm behind on videoing, because this episode I want to talk about my February attempt at destashing, and I have to try and not muddle up what's happened so far in March, because obviously it's now the middle of March and I'm still catching up with February. But let's try. I'm going to put this tea down because it's distracting me. So I'm going to try and not do too much repetition, but also if you're new here, hello. This is going to be a bit weird if I don't show you anything that I'm talking about. So, February. We're getting straight into it, everybody. February, I knitted out, sent out like words. I always think I need to do a really calm podcast, like be zen, and I'm just so chaotic, it's ridiculous. Anywho, February out, I knitted my mushroom skirt. That mushroom skirt was supposed to be my husband's jumper at Christmas, and after lots of humming and hawing and ripping out and re-knitting and trying to get it to fit him, it did not. So, alas, I loved the pattern on it so much, of which I've never told you what it is. It's by Bunnymuff, and it is called, I think, Charms of the Woodland. Anyway, it's down below, I've linked it below. It's actually a hat pattern, and I took the chart and put it onto my jumper, which was a flax jumper, and now is a misc pattern that I made. So I'll show you that. Ta-da. It's adorable, and now I get to wear it and it keeps me nice and toasty. So I'm very chuffed with that. And it used up 258 grams of wool. Then I made my my weaving, which I'll put a picture here. I made this weaving and I thought, this is excellent, this is going to use up so much yarn. Well, the grand total of yarn was 19 grams. So not really very much yarn, but we are going to put it into the out for February. Then I made, now this is where it gets a bit iffy, because I finished my Chevron jumper, the vintage Chevron jumper, and I'll put a picture or a video. Problem is, I didn't take any pictures or videos that I can think of, except the one that I did as the whole episode. So if you've been here before, you have probably seen that I uploaded the whole episode based on this jumper. Vintage knit from the 1940s. I was so excited to make it, and it didn't come out the right size. And that's where we've hit a problem, because although I finished it all in February so that I could show it to you and then add it to my my destash thing, technically I used 277 grams of wool. So the grand total that went out was 554 grams. But I have since deconstructed the jumper because it was too big, and when I wore it I was so uncomfortable. Like, I was physically uncomfortable because of these stupid shoulder pads. And then it was not the shoulder pads' fault, it came out too big, and I ripped out the sleeves and I've done something, which now means I don't know if I should count this as 277 grams or not, because now it's not part of the actual jumper. But I am going to re-knit the jumper at some point, hopefully some point soon, so I've still got the motivation, and then attach them if possible. And I'm going to go into this in a little bit, but I'll just finish this off. So that is the out. So technically 554, but we're going to come back to the jumper situation. However, February in was an unexpected, successful yarn arrival. What am I even saying? These are not normal sentences. I won a giveaway. Yay! Didn't expect that. And I also received some yarn from a friend. So didn't expect that either. So I didn't buy any yarn, but I received some. So I will show you the first one. If any of you watch Selma, Little Big Knits, you may have seen, and some of you actually messaged me to say, you won, in case I didn't see it. So thank you. And I did win, and this is it. This beautiful specimen. This baby came all the way from Canada. I cannot pronounce it. Chosette? I don't know if that focused, but it is a beautiful fingering weight yarn, 40% Blueface Leicester and 40% merino, and it has 20% nylon, and it's 115 grams and 384 meters. And if I recall correctly, the yarn dyer does not dye anymore, which is a shame because this is beautiful. So, anyone have any ideas what I can make with this? The colour is beautiful and it's so squishy and lovely. I keep thinking, oh, a shawl, but I have so many yarn, like singular skeins for shawls. I should probably knit one of them first. But this one came into my life, so that's 115 grams in. And then, excuse the plastic rustlings, but I have, this is going to get complicated. I'll just say I have a friend who lives in New Zealand, and she sent my friend some packages, and within his packages she sent me some yarn. Yay! So this is the Ashford from the Ashford Wheels and Looms yarn, ashford.co.nz. I had just been talking to my friend about how I'd love to learn how to spin and to use the weaving loom, and yeah, then she sent me some yarn. This is a DK merino wool and 50 grams, and I'm going to put this back on the floor because it's too rustly, but these are the colours. There's a pink, blue and cream, and this bluey green. I have 3, 6, 9, I have 11 balls. I feel like maybe she forgot, I forgot one or she forgot one. I had to go pick it up and I might have left one there. But because I've got 3 of each except from one. But that means that I had in 665 grams of yarn. Oops. But that means in total I still had, oh no, I didn't have, I was gonna say I had gone down a bit. No, I've now gained 111 grams of yarn since the beginning of my de-stash, which was January, and this is February. I've tried, people, I've tried. But yeah, gifts and winning, and yeah. So, oops. That's that. Let's just draw a line and move away from that. I'm gonna get some more tea. So let's discuss the Chevron Jumper. As you may recall from the last episode, I decided to knit this beautiful jumper. And you know, in hindsight, when I look at the footage or I think about what I did, I'm like screaming at myself going, obviously that was going to happen. What part of you was like, that's a good idea? So stepping away from it, I can see exactly what the problem is. So now I know. I decided the very first time I tried to make that jumper that I would use a sport weight yarn instead of the vintage 3-ply, which is basically just thinner than our current 4-ply yarns, fingering weight yarns. But when I used this weight yarn with 4mm needles, it was so gappy and horrible that I was trying all these different yarns until I got one that looked nice. I did, and I used a Drops Nord, I think it was, and I got really nice fabric. But instead of just, and I went down, I think to 2.75mm needles. And instead of just leaving it at that and knitting the pattern as per pattern, I decided to also cut out 2 of the sections. From memory, I did actually do some calculations based on gauge, but then my gauge changes as soon as I go from doing a swatch to doing an actual project. Whatever I do, however I hold my needles within the way of the project instead of just going backwards and forwards, my gauge changed. So it came out very, very small. It's since been put aside until I can figure out how to fix it, and I'm still muddling over some ideas. So it's not all is lost. But after that, I then thought, okay, so the sport weight yarn worked nicely. All I have to do is not cut out those 2 panels. But I also decided I would use the same needles as the pattern suggested instead of the 2.75mm that I had used successfully on the other one. So if I had just used 2.75mm sport weight yarn and followed the pattern, it would have come out the right size, which I knew, and still I didn't do that. I'm kind of raging at myself, but equally I've had some very interesting experiences since that I feel like it was an on-purpose learning curve, which I will get to. So I did that. Unsurprisingly, the jumper came out really big. The other thing was I made the sleeves first and I knitted them flat, and I knew they looked a bit big, but I wasn't really sure what size they were supposed to be because the picture's a bit blurry and I wasn't really sure what was going to happen when I seamed them and blocked them, so I just went with it. I was also really struggling with a lot of hand pain, and thank you everybody who reached out and gave me some advice. A couple of you hit on some really good points and they've worked really, really well so far, so thank you. And I'm getting caught up. So I didn't want to rip anything back because I needed like a whole day just to do 1 row, and therefore a lot of emotional investment went into these things, and yeah, so I didn't rip them out. But yeah, obviously when I look at the footage, they're huge. Why did I continue? But anyway, I then finished said jumper, pieced it together, had lots and lots of issues piecing it together because of various, like not really having experience, and then realizing the reason it looked terrible was because it was too big. So then I did something which now I'm quite fascinated by. I started folding in the fabric to try and make the garment smaller but within the right shape, and then I tried to seam on the arms to that, which did work. It's just that the sleeves were so big, so it didn't really matter that I'd made the jumper the right size. The sleeves came out and there was just so much fabric and it wouldn't sit in the way it was supposed to, no matter what I did. So after trying, I filmed it, talked about it, uploaded it, tried to wear it. My husband was like, but it's wonky. Like, you have to sort out the wonk. And I thought, no, it's fine. I just tried to adjust it slightly and I was like, no, it's fine. Then my mum visited, and my mother is always so nice about everything that sometimes to the point of annoyance where you're like, I just want your honest opinion. But of course she's my mother, so she loves me. So she honestly thinks whatever it is looks okay. But when she saw this jumper, she was like, something's wrong there. So I tried to fix it and she's like, yeah, it's just too big. So alas, if my mother even points it out, and my husband, it can't be good. So I wanted to have it for my birthday, and I tried so hard to finish it in time, and I did. And then when my birthday came around, it was the last thing I wanted to wear because it just looked awful. So with that in mind, I thought, okay, I can't just leave it like this. This is getting ridiculous. So I decided to rip out the sleeves and turn it into a vest. Now, this is where things got a little bit more interesting. First of all, I ripped out the sleeves, but of course I still had too much fabric, so I still had to do the whole folding in technique. And then I decided just to just to pick up some stitches and do a little bit of ribbing, and leave it at that. And now I don't know how to wear it. I don't know how to dress myself anymore. I don't know how to wear a vest. What else do you call them? Is it slip over in America? I'm not sure. Basically, it's what I'm wearing. So, this is it. Trying not to crush my plant. So, this is my current slip over situation. Can't get any further back. So I've got the same, I didn't change anything here. But I did pick up and knit around. I have, however, still, excuse my chair. I actually still have like essentially facings. This is how much fabric I took in. And my idea is, if I like it, I'll use my sewing machine and basically like a steak, I'll secure it and then cut the excess fabric. But I'm not comfortable enough yet. I still think that this colour makes me look a bit ill. Like, you're looking a bit peaky, love. Kind of ill. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe a scarf or a bold necklace might make it look better with my skin tone. I'm still struggling with this knit, to be honest, and I don't really have clothes that go with a vest. I don't own shirts. Everyone always says, oh, I got a vest and I put a big white shirt under it. Everyone says that, and that's how everybody styles it. But I don't own a shirt, and I actually hate wearing shirts. So, or blouses, whatever. So that's making it slightly troublesome. Also, everything I own has patterns, like my bees. And patterns don't really go so well with more patterns, unless they're like ditzy patterns maybe. So I'm thinking I need to make a dress that I can put underneath. I've just realised I haven't talked about my dresses. Oh, let's see if I have enough battery to do that. So yeah, any advice? Any advice on what one can wear this kind of vest with? Also, what do you think? Is it a successful transformation or not so much? I really don't know what to do otherwise. Technically, I can rip out the ribbing and keep this whole situation tucked in, somehow pick up sleeves and go down, but still the rest of the body is big, so it's still not gonna look like what it was supposed to. So I don't know. Do you like the vest? I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't know. I love the colours, but I think on my next version, if I continue using this yarn, I'll use 2.75mm needles to do the whole thing, except the ribbing, that'll be 2mm. 4 inches, 2mm. Yay! And then the rest will be 2.75, and then it should be smaller and denser and fit me. But then I think I'll use the green up here, and that should look nicer against my face. I hope. Good thing I like this pattern, because I've got to knit it a lot. So this is a little bit of a sneaky peek into March's acquisitions, but it makes sense with what I'm about to talk about. So for my birthday, my mum got me this book. It's Susan Crawford, The Vintage Shetland Project, and it's really good, really love it. I'll just put it down now. Within that book, there's some stories, and I watched a couple of YouTubes with Susan talking about some of the projects, and I found it really, what's going on with my hair? Really, what's the word? We'll find the word later. I really enjoyed reading it because she was talking about some of the knitwear that she had discovered within the archives of Shetland, and how she was looking at the inside construction and how people had made things. And some had made vintage 1940s garments. And typically in Shetland, they knit in the round, like all the time, pretty much. And in England or Britain, they were very insistent that knitting patterns should be flat. There's a whole fascinating article within the book about a man whose name I've forgotten, who talks about why you should always knit everything flat, and that's what they did. And they even, a lot of the big names that we know from vintage knitting patterns, they would change Shetland designs and turn them into flat knitting. But the Shetlanders didn't want to knit flat, so you could see how they were trying to make something like this, and they just make like a big tube, and then they just cut, basically what I was saying, they just cut out the excess fabric and like pick up stitches along the top of the sleeve and make it look like a set-in sleeve, which is fascinating, and it's exactly what I'm going to try and do. Maybe not on this project, but on a vintage project. I'd love to try doing that. Have any of you tried this? The technique is basically that you collect your stitches and do short rows to imitate the puff of the set-in sleeve, and it also looks like it's set in. And then you knit the rest of it down in the round. This is exciting, and I really want to try it. Oh, I'm getting really red in the face from excitement. What else? Oh yeah, and one of them had cut the fabric and then it still didn't look right. One of the people in the book, one of the patterns that Susan had looked into, had cut her fabric and it still didn't look right, so she actually did exactly what I've done and folded it. So I felt really good, like I'm not alone, that there are other people who, like even experienced knitters who have done similar things to try and make their knitwear fit. Yeah, I don't know, it just made me feel really heard, understood, perhaps that's what I want to say. And that also made me think maybe my other idea isn't so bad. Although now I'm thinking it might not work because I'm changing the gauge of the jumper. I was thinking, because I've got the full sleeves to this, the only issue is that they're too big. But maybe when I fold them, I'll like overlap the seams, like give extra seam allowance essentially. And then I can zigzag my sewing machine and cut the excess fabric so it'll actually fit around the circumference of my arm and be the tight fit it's supposed to be. But I'm not sure if it will work. I'm also going to have to rip out the whole shoulder because it would be white instead of green. But anyway, thinking aloud here, I have some ideas. But yeah, reading this book just made me feel, yeah, I've kind of understood and I'm not alone in these kind of mistakes, but also I found it really interesting. It really made me think about how to construct it and how to fix it and how to adjust it. And also, I wanted to make a vest, but I didn't know really if it would suit me. I was putting it off. And now I have a vest. I'm still not sure if it suits me or if I like it, but I wanted to make a vest regardless, so it would have been this or another one. So, ta-da! So that is my finished object, kind of. I really hope that this episode is not too, which is basically how it feels. I feel like I'm talking about everything. I'm just so excited and I keep wanting to talk to my husband about the things I'm reading with the Shetland book and the things that I got as gifts, and bless, he's just not interested. And I know that you guys are the exact people that would understand the excitement of a delivery from Canada and a delivery from New Zealand and a book of Shetland knitting. Oh, so exciting. Okay, so let's go on to whips. I currently have one whip. I still have some whips that I haven't touched because basically I want this knitted garment to be ready for my upcoming trip to Sweden. I'm going to Sweden. I'm so excited. My husband turns 40 in April and he didn't know what he wanted to do for his birthday, and he was thinking about where we could go and he didn't really know, and I was just like, Sweden, 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 Sweden. So after me just yammering on about Sweden, we're going to Sweden. So yeah, I have to knit a lot so that I have justification for buying some Swedish yarn. But I now need to focus on getting this knit finished because it's on 3mm needles, it's a vintage knit, and it needs to be finished. I did kind of want to like finish this one and make it into a jumper for Sweden, but I'm not going to be able to manage 2 jumpers on 2.75 and 3mm needles in like 6 weeks. So let's just stick with one. When I was making this, I knew I wanted to make it for my birthday, but I thought I've got loads of time, and then my hand issues all started. And then when I started this next knit, I was like, I'm not putting any date onto this. I'm just going to take it like as it comes. But you know how your thoughts can go like 1,000 times faster than your words? Within probably about 5 seconds, I had gone from saying in my head, you're not going to put a time on this. There's no specific time, to I need to finish this by April so that I can have it for Sweden and it has to be finished. So, whoops. I will show you. I currently have 2 sleeves. No, I have not gauge swatched. Didn't even think about it until I just went to talk to you about it 2 seconds ago and thought, I haven't checked. But I cast on the cuff of the sleeve and I thought, happy days, I'm on my way, all good. And my mum arrived and she went, that's enormous. That's just huge. Is that for the body? So that had to be ripped out. And I was going with the same needles as the pattern. And she said, I'll knit the rib and the welt, which is the bit of the ribbing at the bottom. And I thought, are you you serious? Like, you'll knit all of that? That was like the best birthday present. She knitted the welt. It was going to be 4 inches, but we went with 4.5 because she had to go home. And she knitted the sleeve rib. And she did it on 2.5mm, and her ribbing is so neat, whereas mine is not neat. And then I did the rest of the pattern myself. It's actually dark, so I should probably have waited until it was daylight for you to see, but at some point you'll see it in daylight. So we have not just 1, but 2. And these are very differently shaped to the last one. I think this one's more of a subtle curve into the arm, whereas the other one was this box pleat or box shape. So I'm excited. My mum said it's definitely going to fit, so let's see. Are you right, Mum? There we go. So 2 sleeves, and she also did the ribbing for the bottom, which I started the pattern on yesterday. I didn't put any stitch stoppers in because my husband went out and I spontaneously decided to stop knitting and to film a podcast. So here's the rib, or the welt. She cast on really loosely, which was kind of strange. I'm hoping it comes out in the blocking process. But here we go. And this is the rainbow jumper, a rainbow sweater. I'll put a thing. And I'm loving it. The yarns are Jameson of something, Shetland, Spindrift, whoever that one is, Jameson and something. There are 2, and I actually have both in there. There's Jameson's and Smith and Jameson's of something else, of Shetland maybe. And I actually bought the cream in both companies because I ran out of one. Also, I used that yarn for this instead of the actual yarn I was using because I picked up the wrong yarn. So there's even less of the yarn for that project now. I'm not really sure if I have enough yarn because the original pattern says you need 5 colours in total, and I have 4. Cream, green, pink, brown. Yeah, I've got 4. And I needed 1 ounce, which was roughly, I think it said 25 grams. No, I think 1 ounce is 30 grams. And you needed 1 ounce of each. And the balls I have are 25 grams. And I need 5 colours and I only have 4, so I am using a little bit more than the pattern would suggest anyway. And I don't have enough of the white. So I might have to order some more, but I wouldn't need that much. Then that's going to be really annoying because then the yarn that I had from Stash, I was using from Stash, will then go out and then be immediately replaced, which is kind of annoying. But we'll see. My mum had the idea of making a beret. I just have to figure out how on earth I would use the stitch pattern in a beret, and I have no idea. But also that yarn was specifically purchased to make the Tito mittens by a Crafter's Tale podcast. And although I love the mittens and the pattern is out and ready to knit, I just never ever feel like making socks or mittens. I've got so many patterns, I'm so excited when I see the patterns, but I never want to pick up and knit on them, ever. So I thought I'm going to use the yarn for something else. And I think it looks really nice. But as I said, I'm still going to end up with the yarn, regardless. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do on the whole de-stash in March if I then replace the yarn immediately. Hey ho. So that is that project, and Other than that, I'm not working on any other knitting projects. I have the whole of the body to go and the neck. Also, that one has a different kind of neck to this one, and it has buttons on the side here. I'm thinking that I might, depending how I like the look of it, I might actually use the top portion of the pattern, like use this when I get to here, change over to that pattern and follow that pattern, and then I'll have less like box style sleeves and I'll have buttons here. Because at the moment I feel like a 4-year-old, maybe younger. Can 4-year-olds dress themselves? I have no idea. Let's go with a 2-year-old. I feel like a toddler who can't dress themselves, because in order to get this on, it has 5 buttons at the back, but it's such a delicate, singular, tiny little hole that once I've got it on, I can't button it up because I can't find the hole because it's so tiny. So then my husband has to do the buttons, and then when I want to change and go to bed, I can't get out of it because I can't get to them without like ripping or pulling the fabric, because it's just like this tiny singular hole, microscopic hole. I don't want to destroy or rip off the buttons because I'm terrible at sewing on buttons. I do the whole trick where you like put it through and twirly 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 to make the shaft and then put it through. It still comes undone. But that was sidetrack. But yeah, basically he needs to dress me, it feels like. Like I don't know how to dress it anyway, like I don't know how to style it, and then I don't know how to take it on and off because I can't get the buttons. So the other one has buttons here that I'll actually be able to reach and see visually. So that's my kind of plan of attack. That would sort out the shoulder issue that I had with this original design, and also the getting it on and off situation. So yeah, that's that. I did want to talk to you about my sewing that I did, but it's really dark and I'm not sure that it would show them off in a very good light. So I'm going to save that, I think, for March. I'll show you that in the next, well, it is March, but for the next episode, I will try and film the dresses for the next episode. So is there anything else I wanted to talk about for February? Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I have so much to talk about for March, for acquisitions for my birthday, and yarny things, and sewing. So I'm just gonna hold it all in, and I'm going to keep it for the next episode. So if you managed to get through all of my blabbering, thank you, well done, and I shall see you hopefully next time.